Today we are going to learn how to solve expressions. So an algebraic expression is an expression that contains numbers. Let's make that smaller, sorry. Numbers, variables, and operators. So like addition, multiplication, subtraction, division. If the variable, which remember is a letter that represents the unknown, if a variable is given, that variable must be used. But sometimes no variable is given and we may choose any or an appropriate variable. So if we're talking about how many dogs go to the vet, we could use D for dogs because we're talking about dogs. And N probably wouldn't make sense because there's no word that starts with an N in our sentence. A number next to a variable or a variable next to another variable means to multiply. So an example could be something like 12G. That it means that 12 times G. If the operations are addition and multiplication, the order of the terms does not matter. For instance, instead of 12G, we could have G12. I will say that this is the most preferred way to write it, though. If the operations are subtraction and division, the order of the term must be in order. For instance, 10 minus 5 equals 5. But if we were to have written 5 minus 10, that would equal negative 5. So those don't give you the same answer. So the order matters. I want you to press pause and I want you to write in words that you know mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and then press play when you have finished. Okay, so here is lists that I came up with. I want you to press pause again, and I'm going to see if you got some of the words. And then if you don't have all of the words, press pause and write them down so that ours look the same. And then if you came up with different words, then we will share those with your table groups tomorrow. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with number 1. So number 1 says the sum. The sum means to add. So I like us to make notes underneath the words to the sum of 5 and G. So here we would add 5 plus G, which is kind of what we did before this set of notes. So this should be pretty easy. So I want you to go ahead and press pause and write out numbers 2 and 3. So number 2 is product. Product means to multiply, and we're multiplying 8 and G. So I could write 8 dot G. I could write 8 parentheses G, and I could write just 8G. Remember, the order doesn't matter for that, but like I said, this is the preferred way. And then you should have written 7 less, and in class, we learned that then means to switch, right? W. So hopefully you caught that switch, and that means whatever comes first goes last, and whatever goes last goes first. So the W came last, so I'm going to put W. The operation is subtraction, and then 7. So we should have gotten W minus 7. If you did not get that, make sure you press pause and fix it. Okay, so then here we have 8 divided by Y. So that's 8 divided by y. And we can write that just like that, 8 divided by y. Or we can write 8 divided by y. I want you to press pause and write number 5 and in both ways that we just wrote number 4, the same type of way. Okay, so you should have gotten the quotient, which means division of 12 in D. So what I meant was I wanted you to write 12 divided by D. And then I also wanted you to write it in fraction form of 12 divided by D. Okay, so here it looks like I thought I already wrote a number for this. So we're going to put the number 7 here, okay? So 7 less than means to switch the product of 1/4 and J. So remember, then means to switch, so this actually goes first. So the product of 1/4 J just means 1/4 times J. And then the operation beforehand is 7 less. So we're going to subtract. We could also wrote it 1/4 J minus 7. Okay, so like I said, all of this was a review. So I hope that this just kind of solidifies how we write. And then here we're going to move to something a little bit more. So here it says Jermaine makes C cookies. So there's our variable right now. We don't know how many cookies. And so remember, a variable represents the unknown. Sorry, I'm trying to find a highlighter color. Okay, so C cookies. That works a little, I guess. And splits them up evenly between 7 friends. Write an expression that represents how many cookies each friend gets. So C, we always want to write what the variable means number of cookies. And he wants to split. What operation does split mean? That means, hopefully you said division. Good. It means to divide. And how many friends does he want to split it up with? He wants to split it up with 7 friends. Okay, so then we have to decide, are we going to take cookies and divide them by 7 friends? Or are we going to divide 7 friends up? We definitely don't want to split up our friends. So we're going to split up the cookies. So whatever we're splitting up goes first. So that means C divided by 7. That would be our expression. And when we get to equations, hopefully we'll be able to plug in and solve for how many cookies each person gets. Okay, the next one says tickets to the water park cost $12. What costs $12? Tickets. For who? Adults. So it is $12 for adults. Remember, notes are important, so this must be on your notes. And what does the word and mean? We said that it means addition. It costs $8 for kids. How much does it cost for kids? $8. Okay, so we pulled out some important information. Write an expression for the cost of adults and kids. Okay, so if it costs $12 for adults, but there are 5 adults going, what operation is that? I have $12 for each adult and 5 are going. How do I get the cost? Hopefully you said multiplication. So that means that I'm going to make up a variable that says A equals the cost for adults. So that means if I have, it doesn't equal the cost of adults. It equals the number of adults. In our problem, did it tell us how many adults are going? It didn't, but it told us how much it costs. So no matter how many adults are going, we would take that number that we don't know and we would multiply it by 12. And remember that and from earlier? Let's bring down that and sign. And we don't know how many kids are going, but how much does it cost for kids? $8. So let's put a K, and K represent the number of kids. So no matter how many kids, it could be a group of 20 kids, it could be a group of 15 kids. No matter how many, they cost $8 each. So if 20 kids are going, what am I going to do with 8 and 20? I'm going to multiply them to find how much it cost, right? So $8 times K for however many kids end up going. And that is our expression. Sabrina is raising money for a class trip, and she needs to raise $150. How much does she need? She needs a total of $150. It says she has raised D dollars. Do we know how many? No. But we know that D represents the amount raised. Again, these notes are super important and required. It says, write an expression to represent how much money she still needs to raise. How much money she still needs to raise. Do we know how much? No. So when that's our answer, that means that that is our variable. So what could we pick? What letter could we pick to represent money? Probably M. M equals amounts of money, right? That she needs. So here we're going to write an equation. So we won't always have two variables in our problems, but in this case, our expression would be that I need a total of $150, and I'm going to subtract the amount I've already raised. What letter represents the amount I've already raised? D. And just so we know that that is going to tell us how much we have left over. So here's our expression. And in the end, when we solve that, it would give us the amount that we need. Okay. That is all for the notes today. Please go back and make sure that you have everything, and make sure that you especially have all of these words.